Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. I have a special guest with me today here, Adrian, who is one of the most experienced technical leads and team leads I've worked with. And he will share with us a lot of good stuff, ideas, and things that you will find useful in your projects. And I'm really eager and really excited to have this discussion today. Before discussing, however, the topic of today, I would like to introduce our sponsor. Lemon.io is a freelance platform for experienced developers. You should definitely check out Lemon.io, folks. They have a lot of things to offer for mid-plus and senior developers. Lemon.io offers projects considering developers' tech stack, skills, and expectations about projects' duration or type. You don't have to look for clients yourself, sell yourself every time and dump on prices. All communication is handled by Lemon.io, and you just code, get an excellent salary, and enjoy your life. So give them a chance and check out our sponsor's website, Lemon.io, for more details. You find the link in the comment section and in the video description. With that being said, let's get to our subjects of today. Thank you very much, Adi, for being here and accepting my invitation.
Thank you for having me and for having this opportunity to discuss this topic that affects us all.
Tell us a bit about yourself. I introduced you a bit, but maybe you'd like to make us a more visible picture of your experience.
Sure. So I've been working in the industry for about 12 years now, plus some years freelancing before that. Most of these years, I've been leading various teams, both in internal projects, external projects with clients, with ministries for the states. So I've got a chance to see various teams and various ways of working. Also, some experience in teaching it in the universities. So also having to work with large groups of students, working on different projects and different technologies.
It's a quite an area of expertise, and you specifically work now as a team lead. For how long did you take the responsibility of a team lead now?
In the current assignment, I've been working for 2 years now, 2 years and 2 months actually. And basically, we've built a team from scratch for a new client that we have. And now we have 3 teams that we activate in.
Okay, cool. So you had plenty of time to get into a lot of difficulties as well as nice stuff on this journey. So let's discuss a bit, especially because you said you started with a new team. How is it to build a new team? How do you do that? So you get assigned on a project and you have to build your team, or I'm not sure if I know how does that work?
Well, for the current project, basically, we started discussing with the client to see exactly what were his needs, what exactly needs to be built, what's the timeline, what are the requirements. After we've set the ground for that particular stuff, we started looking for people that would fit the bill. And then I started looking for each individual that would fill various gaps in what we were looking for.
Does it take
In
a
the
lot of
past,
time? Does it
yes,
take a lot of time? Okay.
yes.
And what are the difficulties in finding people for a team? First of all, I guess you need to know what kind of people, what kind of developers you look for. Maybe you need some kind of different skills, front end, back end, technologies, experience based.
That's the easiest part because you will have access to various CVs, various information about those people. So it's easy to find out if they're working on a specific technology or not, how long have they been working with it. The problem is finding the right chemistry and the right pairs of people that will work correctly and will communicate effectively within
And
the
do you know
team.
that up front?
No,
No. So
you have to discuss with each of them.
and basically only discussing with them, are you able to find out how that specific individual thinks? Can it happen that you onboard someone and then that someone is not a good fit for your team?
Yes, it can happen, and it actually has happened in the past. Uh, that's why you need to have a bit of freedom in the role that you're looking for. You should never look for someone for a very specific role. Hey, you need someone for that particular role, especially when you start building the team. More, let's say you're looking for potential. Okay, I'm looking for someone. He is very good. He knows what he does and does not know about him, and he's willing to learn. Okay, that's a perfect fit, and basically you can fit that person pretty much anywhere. But if you find someone who is targeted on a specific niche or whatever, you need to see exactly if he or she actually fits what you're looking for, or if he does not, if you have, in case it's not a fit, like you mentioned, if you have a fallback position for that particular person. Hey, this particular setup did not work, but hey, we have a different team or a different part of the project that we need to work on that might be best suited. Or if not, that's it.
Yes. So in that what you are telling me is kind of you are, in this case you have multiple teams. So where you might have this opportunity of changing the way the team looks like and taking someone from one side and putting them into the other side. But can you do something also in case you have only one team, for example?
Yes. Once you get to know people, you will find out that they don't have a particular affinity to one specific technology. Um, Maybe he is a Java person, but if you start discussing with that person, you'll find out, hey, I want to also develop my front end skills, like you said, or I want to do DevOps, or guess what? Everyone's moving to the cloud. I want to learn about that. So if you find out that he's not a good fit with the other Java developers, for example, if he's passionate about cloud, maybe there is an opportunity within that particular team to work on that particular area. Hey, you can handle the cloud. Since you're not particularly keen on communicating with the rest of the team, pretty much you can work by yourself on the cloud part. And once you're done, we'll see how we can move from there.
So to recap a bit about your strategy, you have to build a team, and
Yep.
first of all you take the CVs and then you of course discuss with each and every individual and find out how they are in terms of personality, soft skills. Sometimes are you also targeting soft skills?
I'm targeting mostly attitude and communication because if they have the energy to do stuff and they're, let's say, willing to tackle difficult stuff in order to learn or develop themselves, then that's a very good person. But they also need to be able to communicate both with their teammates and with the product owner or whoever is a stakeholder within the project. You can take someone who is not particularly keen on communicating, but you need to be aware of that before you assign tasks such as, hey, do the demo or do some requirements gathering with the client, because of course that will not be a good fit. But if they have the proper attitudes, everything's fine.
I'm curious, did this strategy change with the pandemics? Things that you were doing for building a team before the pandemic started, are they different than now? If you are now doing something differently than you were doing previously?
Yes, things have changed a bit. Before the pandemic and when we were in the office, it would be a lot easier to have an informal discussion with that particular person. Whether it would be an interview because he would be a new hire or someone that you're trying to bring in from a different project, you still had that 5-10 minutes before the actual discussion where you could go out on the balcony, discuss something, anything to get a read on that particular person. Now that everything is online and everything is on various online tools, basically as soon as you start the meeting, you have to go in it, and it gets a bit harder. Plus, even in the setup where I can see you and discuss with you, it's not as if we can have the same interpersonal relationship that we would have when we would be standing face to face. So yes, this has become a bit more difficult, but it can be overcome.
What about the new joiners? Because building a team also means getting new joiners and making them comfortable with the project, with the other members. I think that's also probably affected now in the whole everything online, isn't it?
Yes, that's taken a real hit. Once you bring a new joiner in the team, it takes a while until they actually get a sense of the team and, hey, I actually feel a part of this particular team, because everything is online. Like I said earlier, everything as soon as the meeting starts seems very formal, very inflexible. Whereas when you're in the office, you get to meet people, greet them, maybe go out for a coffee or something before you actually start working, and you get easily integrated within the team. Since it's online, it can take even 2 or 3 months until someone actually feels integrated. Uh, for that, when we actually have someone new added to the team, we start with, let's say, a half an hour, 1 hour meeting where everyone goes around the table. We discuss various topics, basically introduce ourselves. Because one of the biggest bumps in the road for a new joiner in a new team, an already formed team, is the fact that those are not necessarily people that you need to prove yourselves to. So you don't need to prove what you can do for them or within the team, but they are actually human beings that enjoy discussing with other people. So this kind of interaction is mandatory when you have a new team member.
Something similar also worked for me. I think establishing this kind of meetings, but sometimes later in the evening, and playing like online games. I think that was mostly in the beginning of the pandemics. Now you can go out. It's not that restrictive anymore, but in the first part of the pandemics, I remember we had to stay only inside. And when I had this kind of new joiners, I was trying to have events like this one in the evening. I don't even drink a beer, whatever you like, a wine, and then play something. And I found this really useful. Did you try the same, some similar events, or?
Yes, whenever a new joiner would come to the team, I try to be in the office on that particular day so I can meet them face to face. If other colleagues can come, they are more than welcome. So I would let the entire team, hey, on the 5th, somebody is joining, whoever wants to join the office, feel free. And if we're plenty enough in the office, three, four, five, we can even go for a drink. But the most important is for someone to be there physically to greet them, discuss privately, and explain, hey, this is the project, you'll meet lots of people, and we will have a meeting later so that you can actually meet those human beings, not those particular resources, like someone likes to call them.
So yeah, definitely. I think unfortunately, in a lot of companies, I heard this kind of resources approach rather than a human approach, and that in my opinion is wrong. But so what I learned up to now from you is first of all that when you build a team, you focus a lot more, or at least the same, on how that individual you get into a team thinks. So the personal stuff, not only the technical knowledge. Are they friendly? Are they communicative? Do they like to share also personal stuff, or they only like to share work stuff? So your kind of approach is close to what Simon Sinek said. Soft skills, or the character is more important than technical skills, because you don't build character, but you can build technical skills. So if you have someone, you see their technical skills maybe are not as good as you thought in the beginning, you can still build the technical skills, but it's much more difficult to change someone in terms of the way they think or their character, isn't it? That's what I understood from here.
Exactly. I
That's
actually have a sorry, I actually have a marker for this. So if you, they say that people are split into introverts and extroverts. It's more complex than that, but let's stick to these two. Um, Either of the two, you will know that they are fond and they have integrated with the team once they can actually share personal aspects of their lives, especially the introverts. If you find someone talking about his wife, his kid, his dog, whatever he did when he was a child, where he went on the last holiday or whatever, that means they feel comfortable enough to share his private parts of the life with you, your colleagues, whatever. So that means he's feeling safe. He's in a comfortable place. Whereas if they keep talking about what's left to do, when is the client coming, when is the project due, or whatever, he's still out. You still have to reach out and grab him.
So you kind of read the psychological signs whether someone is comfortable, maybe
Yep.
trustful, or they are not comfortable, they are afraid of something, and then you know if you need to discuss with them more or not. And that leads us to one of the other subjects I wanted to discuss today. By the way, before going further, folks, don't forget that you have a live chat there. So if you want to ask questions, you can ask the questions in the live chat. One of the next subjects I wanted to discuss is building trust. And that's pretty much related to what you were saying earlier. So say that you managed to build a team somehow. It wasn't easy, but you got your team members there, 6, 7, 8, 10, whatever you needed. They are now already working for some time together, not a long time, but they are working for some time together. And the team starts to take a shape. How much trust is important between the team members, and can you do something to establish trust, make the team members trustful one with the other?
Yep. So the first aspect would be related to what I mentioned earlier, the part about human beings versus resources. And I have a funny story about that. On one of the previous projects that I've worked on, basically I was sent to a new client. We already knew something about that particular client because we knew some of the people working there, and they keep telling us that it's a very sterile environment. Everyone is cold, everyone is distant, they just care about themselves, nothing more. And when we were actually discussing, hey, what were your needs, how would the team look like, and whatever, the two representatives on the client kept telling us about how many resources they need. Hey, we need 3 resources to do dev, 2 resources to do testing, blah, blah. And after they repeated that term for about 20 times, I basically got a bit upset. And I asked them, hey, could we start calling them human beings or engineers or whatever instead of resources? And their reply actually scared me a bit because they both looked angrily at me and at the same time said no. And that was the moment when I understood why everyone was like that.
Basically, anyway, in every company you have a department called human resources. You at least try to stop calling them like this, because
Exactly.
we are anyway seen, as we said, in the team itself. Let's be just friends one with the other
Exactly.
up to some point, yeah.
So once you establish that everyone is human and you can actually discuss with them, it's important to keep them appraised of what the target is and how you're planning to achieve it. So they should be aware of, hey, this is what we're trying to achieve. This is the deadline. This is the plan of approach. It might change over time, but you need to be aware of that so we know which way we're going. And at the same time, in case something happens, as a lead, you need to protect them. It's a psychological answer that when someone scolds you for something that you've done, maybe you haven't reached your sprint target, they will actually, the client will start complaining, hey, you haven't reached that particular target that we've discussed together. Everyone will start looking to their right or their left, the person they trust most. If the lead at that point does not step up and take a stand on that particular issue, the team will lose their complete trust. So the lead will need to make a step front, say, hey, this was the effort of the team, this was happened, no pointing needs to be done, so that should be avoided at all costs. This is what happened within the team. We will fix it in the next sprint, blah, 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 blah. But everything happens as a team. You represent the team and you need to step up. You definitely do not need to hide or whatever because everyone is counting on you at that particular moment.
There are 2 directions in which we have trust. One of them is from team member to team lead, and the other one is from team member to team member. And it's very important, what you say is that it's very important at least the team members to trust you. because otherwise when they have a problem, all the team will actually lose trust in their lead, so they will be disorganized. They will not be able to work anymore because they don't trust either you or themselves, each other in that case.
Yes.
And can it be that all the team members trust each other, or are there situations where maybe someone A doesn't trust someone B, they both trust you? Does that affect somehow the team, or can you solve that?
As long as it doesn't generate conflicts, it's fine. So within a team, nobody needs to like everyone. So it is very possible, because that's human nature, for me to dislike you, for example, but to be okay with three of the other members of the team. That's perfectly fine as long as there is a chain of trust between every two persons within the team. Because, okay, I may not trust you, but I trust my colleague here and he trusts you with this particular task or decision. So I'm fine with it.
Kind
If
of a democracy. Maybe I don't understand you, but if all the others say it's fine, then okay, I'm going with them. If the majority says it's fine, then okay, I'm going with that.
But even that particular approach needs to be closely monitored, because there are people that will say this for quite a number of times before they say, hey, okay, this team, the whole team actually wants this, but I feel I'm no longer in sync with them. So if they do say that too often, you need to take action to see what's wrong there, because definitely there's something out of sync.
Okay, that sounds really interesting. I have a question, actually. We have a question. So let's see if we can address it, because it's kind of sounds kind of related to what we were discussing, but it's more about time management. So says, can you emphasize on time management? Suppose you have a new team where you don't know their strengths yet. That's very interesting, because indeed when you build a team, and we started by discussing that, and you maybe know something about them because you've seen their CVs, so technically you know where they are about. Maybe they have even been interviewed, and you might know from there where they stand with the technicalities, and maybe you've even discussed with them, and you know some soft skills, because you told me you discussed with them, and you are very attentive in making sure that they are that kind of person you can work with. But still, what you don't know is precisely how fast they code. Maybe even in a technical interview, can't find out exactly how strong they are with a specific technology, and sometimes someone might be faster or even know more things than you expected. But the other way around can be also that sometimes some developers are not the level you expected. So how do you manage the time in that case, having the uncertainty of what the developers know?
Well, most of the projects now use Agile or some variant of Agile, where you have sprints and velocities for those sprints. You need to take into account that the first two or three, maybe up to four sprints, you're still calibrating your velocity, so you can't make an assumption up front. And this is the point where what I was talking about earlier, that initial discussion where you need to state the goal of the project and what is the actual target. This plays a very important role, because this is the point where you say, hey, we need to get to that place then, and you ask the table for options or ideas how to reach that. The persons that will speak up, you'll see, are the ones that have the most attitude or have experience. They will give you ideas while at the same time exposing their hands, giving you information about what they're feeling more comfortable to work with. Whereas you will see which are the ones that are usually silent, and you can ask them, hey, do you feel particularly comfortable working on that particular area or not? So you can get an idea of the entire table at such a discussion, and at that point you haven't really decided who gets what responsibility or how the plan actually is going to unfold. So you can still have some maneuver after that particular discussion. Afterwards, indeed, you'll have to spend a lot of time actually following the people, seeing if someone has any kind of particular difficulty in doing their everyday job. And everyone should be open to feedback. So if someone has a problem or is not familiar with a particular framework or something, they should be comfortable receiving feedback. Hey, you need to improve that particular area. Let me help you with a training with a peer who can explain or something else. Also, they need to be open to when someone says, "Hey, you screwed up," but not in a derisive way or "Hey, I'm making fun of you because you screwed up." No, this is something that you might have done wrong, or I might not have understood what you were saying here. Let's sit at the same screen. You can explain what you've done, and we can discuss together if this was the best option or not. In today's world, I've noticed that we do pull request or merge reviews uh, totally separate from the actual developer that has done that. So they write the code, they send you the link. May God have mercy if they actually understood what you've written there or not. When we were in the office, it was a lot easier because you just pull his chair, bring him next to you, and what did you write here? That was a lot easier. And I still encourage people to do peer reviews. So basically looking at the same screen to understand exactly what they've done there and what was the reason for them doing that.
It was easier to communicate that when we were in the office because you were telling that with a smile on your face, and that folk understood it's not something you take as they did something bad. It's just you, want to see, want to understand. Maybe it's even the way they did it's even a good way, and you don't understand it.
Yeah.
That now with online it's indeed more difficult, and I felt that too. So in terms of time management, to recap a bit and make sure I understood. First of all, your strategy is you read faces, you try to understand from their attitude, from the team members' attitude, what is their experience. If they try to bring, if they are not quiet, if they try to bring with ideas and suggestions on how to implement, you take that as they have maybe more experience in that specific area or that specific set of technologies. And you start from there. And of course, you mix this with an agile approach. Try to have some velocity calculated in story points, and then starting from there, sprint by sprint, probably make your estimations better.
Yep.
Now, I know what some of our some of the people watching us might think now, and I've had this situation and I've seen it. What happens when you have a difficult client asking you, like maybe you have a hard deadline, do that by the end of March, or don't do it at all? How do you take something like that? Still related to time estimation, of course.
Time estimation should not take into account pressure. So there is that famous triangle where you have budget, time, and quality, and you need to make sure that the client actually understands that. So you need to say ask the client actually, which is the most important. Do you need to have it on time? Then it's either going to cost you a lot of money for me to bring in the correct team to deliver it in that time frame within quality, or you sacrifice some quality, but you stay within budget and you reach the deadline. But you need to pick one of the two.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Sorry, go on.
Once they actually choose, then the estimations and the planning goes a lot more smoother because now you know exactly if you need to cut some corners when it comes to quality, but leave some corners that you can improve later once you go into production or whatever, or if you need to improve on or increase the team size, whatever is needed.
One of the things I found is also that if you have to discuss with someone like a stakeholder for whom you build the software, in time you build trust with them as well. So they will see that the decisions you take are indeed good, but at the very beginning it might be that they don't trust you. So there can be some uncertainty at the very beginning, which might affect time estimations as well, because you might even know better what to do, but you might be forced by them to do something else. And sometimes you even have to do the way they say, just to maybe prove they are wrong, or maybe they prove you are wrong, and that's still good. But that makes sense in the very beginning, the time estimations, and maybe you have to expect that the time estimations and at the beginning of a project with a new team will not necessarily be accurate, and you can't do something to be accurate unless you find a way to travel in the future and find out what things will happen in the future and then change it. So if you don't find a DeLorean or whatever that was in the Back to the Future, then it's pretty much difficult to make it accurate. And we have a second question, actually. So someone asks your opinion, Adi, whether cameras make sense in terms of building trust.
Oh, yes.
People starting cameras, seeing themselves in the online, of course, that's what we are talking about. Is it better? Is it recommended they start the cameras when they have meetings?
Yes. It's something I really encourage for people to start their video cameras, because that gives you the opportunity to see that the person you're talking to has some funny headphones with cat ears or whatever. They have some interesting pajamas. I've even had the case where I had this person that I was discussing with, and his spouse actually entered the room just to show me her new hairdo, because they just relaxed the restrictions in their country, and the hairdressers were finally open. So she was extremely happy. And basically, even if it's not related to the project and it's something completely stupid, it builds a level of trust that cannot be attained just by discussing with someone, or even worse, just texting or emailing.
Yeah, even seeing that they are maybe smiling, it's or not, it's a good sign that you can read and ask a question, maybe see if they are said, are you okay? If they are not okay, maybe they want to talk about it, maybe they don't want to talk about it, but it's still good to build a relationship, a stronger relationship, and by that build trust, I guess. But if someone doesn't want to share the webcam, what do you do?
You never trust someone. You never force someone to do something they're not comfortable with. Okay, maybe they don't want to share because, hey, I have 3 roommates and I don't want you to see them because I'm not particularly happy with what they're doing or whatever. Maybe I have a cat that keeps coming in front of the camera, which again, I've had meetings where I kept seeing the behinds of various cats because they kept coming in front. I don't have a particular problem with that, but the owner might feel that it will have a negative impact on his image. And okay, if they don't want to share the camera, that's perfectly fine with me. But there were cases.
Sorry, go on.
One particular case that I want to bring up. We've had a session with someone from another team where basically we wanted just to raise that, hey, something did not work okay. We've had various problems integrating with what they were doing. And basically we had a meeting where we just wanted to explain, hey, something went wrong. And since we did this without cameras, most of the team was without camera, the other team felt like it was a bashing session. So basically they felt that we were aggressive, we were telling them that they were incompetent, they couldn't do anything right, blah, blah, blah. Whereas in the next meeting, where we actually had to do the follow-up and everything, everyone started their video cameras, and they understood that we were actually trying to be constructive about this. Hey, we had an issue, we're open to actually help, let's discuss the contract, let's see how this works. The fact that the cameras were on made a huge difference.
Okay. So what I wanted to say earlier is that regarding to what you've said, if you force someone starting the camera, it might even have the opposite effect on trust. So I think that indeed the advice of having the camera on is good, but indeed also the advice of not forcing someone is what I as well think, because otherwise you might get the opposite, and instead of building trust, you lose it. Someone is asking, of course, you don't force someone to have a camera on, but do you have any tips or tricks to convince them without forcing them?
There is one simple approach. Whenever we have large meetings, such as the ceremonies for our methodology, be it the demo, the retrospective, or whatever, it's agreed upon before time that please turn on your cameras. So they know beforehand, hey, this is a meeting that we agreed on. We will see each other's faces. because it's a demo, or I need to see your face when we do the retro to see if you're aggressive or not with me. Whereas in the rest of the meetings, let's say the dailies, where we already know the entire team, we're within our own units and we're okay with each other, sure, keep it closed if you feel that way. There's no particular problem. But
So
you
one thing
agree?
could be tell them in advance. If you tell them in
Yes.
advance, it's better because if they want to dress somehow, they can dress somehow. If they want to take a bath after a week, they can do that. If they want to use makeup, the girls especially, they can do that. And you don't take them by surprise. Okay.
Yes. And there is another one which more or less relates to what you were saying earlier about having those game sessions or sessions in the evening, coffee or whatever. Hey, we're going to have a coffee session later today at the end of the schedule. We want to play some games, such as mimes, such as activities, such as whatever. But in order to play that particular game, we will need to have video feed. Even if it's outside of actual work and within the personal or team development space, it still helps because that particular person who was reluctant to share video will still share video in a private event, this gaming session, and will start feeling more comfortable in sharing his video with his teammates. Maybe he will still feel, let's say, shy about turning on the video with a large audience, but he will be comfortable with his own teammates.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So a trick would be when you organize a beer event at the end of the day, maybe you tell them in advance, we do share our screen because we want to make fun. Maybe we play a game where we need to see each other. So you need a reason for that. So you can find the reason, but that will also make them more comfortable sharing the webcam afterwards because yeah, they will say, okay, I'm ugly. They already seen me anyway, so they can see me now as well. So, okay, that's a good one.
We've used this trick and we've combined it with Christmas. So we've organized a week ahead ugly sweater contest on Christmas Eve, or the week before Christmas actually. So everyone knew that somehow they needed to show their ugly sweaters. So it was obvious that they need to turn their video on. And for a while after that particular event, they actually started showing their video a lot more. Like you said, they've already seen me. So what's the worst that can happen?
Okay, yeah, that's a very good point. So if you find a way to put it in an event, then it might have the effect of you seeing them that they also share the webcam during work hours. Cool, that's a very good point. Okay, so however, there are still cases where people will not understand each other, and that might go into conflicts between the team members. There are different reasons why two or more people might not be on the same line. How do you solve conflicts? Because of course, I think being friends with each other is the best, but sometimes things don't work, and if conflict starts to appear, they will also probably affect the work, affect the result, the end result. So conflicts is probably something that we want to solve quick and make sure everybody's happy. What kind of conflicts did you have have you been unlucky to have to solve? Let's put it like this. What kind of conflicts? How did you solve them? What strategies do you have in this direction?
The most common conflict is when two developers or testers or whatever have a difference of opinion in how something needs to be implemented. If the team has sufficient leeway in deciding how this should work, eventually two people will have different opinions. And if those two can't actually see eye to eye, they will look to another person to moderate that conflict and solve it. And that's the moment where I use uh, a particular phrase that they're surprised to hear. I'm not here to make friends. So even if I am a lead, I am here to help you and I will act very friendly. My main goal is not to be your friend. My main goal is to make sure that everyone works effectively and they feel comfortable doing their job. So if we have a problem here, I will either use the seniority card. Hey, we go this way because of this. That's it. No argument. We can postpone the conflict and gather more information to see which option best fits in the timeline, in the milestones, and whatever we're trying to do. Or we can actually have a session where they can both try to express whatever they're doing. And for that, I particularly prefer to have a non-technical person in the room. I usually go for human resources, since you mentioned them earlier. We're very fond of them and we interact well. I grab someone from human resources who usually doesn't know anything about Java or front end, and I say, hey, you two explain to this person what you're trying to achieve and why, and whoever actually makes the most valid point to a person that does not understand the technical aspects of this will actually win. And they will win naturally. They don't need to argue anymore because they need to translate that in layman's terms for someone to actually understand, someone from business who's not technical.
That's a really interesting strategy. So you basically put someone on technical to judge.
Not to judge, to be the rubber duck. That person could be even a stuffed animal. They need to explain to someone who will not argue with them. And they need to explain it in natural language.
Okay, so I hope the next rubber ducks will not see this video previously. but yeah, that's a really good point. So you basically this way you step back and they don't necessarily see you as someone taking the decision, or they try to solve by themselves the conflict. Of course, it depends also on how that person is, and it might be that it is not, doesn't happen. They don't get to a solution, and in that case, maybe you will need to, as you said, take the seniority card out, or what was the expression?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes,
so
use the seniority.
I, as the team lead, I decide this is the way, and I think that's a valid point, because I think democracy works in a team, but at some point, and I remember I had a similar discussion with Ana Maria Mihalceanu a few weeks ago on the same channel, and indeed her opinion was the same, that democracy is good, but at some point you need to take that seniority decision if things don't work. So someone needs to take that, and by that they take their responsibility, because when you say, if A and B argue on something and you have to take a decision and you say B is right, then you don't actually say B is right. You say, I take the responsibility that the solution B suggests is right, and then neither A or B will be responsible anymore on the decision. So if something happens and I didn't take the correct decision, it's my fault, because I took the decision instead of them. That's what you say as well, or?
Yes, with one minor difference. I would never, or at least I would try never to take sides. So even if I take a decision, I take decision for the product or for the client. Whoever actually was the one proposing the solution, I really don't care. It was a team's proposal, but you never underline, hey, I took
so
your
decision. You don't say Bill or John is right. Exactly. You just say, I like this solution. Maybe you even adjust it somehow. Maybe you adjust the solution, is not even the same one. Even if you took it from Bill or John, and you don't say names, you make sure you are referring to the product instead of specific person. Okay, that's a very good question we have in the chat. Actually, I would like to also answer that question, but I will let you first, Adi, do that. So when your team, a junior in your team, comes up with a better approach than you as a lead, how do you deal with the situation and your ego when the situation is recurring, especially if it is recurring? So if it happens multiple times.
I actually am happy when that happens, because I don't particularly. So let's say I've lost my ego. I've been in that situation a few years back, so I know exactly what they're referring to. But nowadays, especially since I lose most of my time in meetings, various discussions, or team building, or whatever, I'm not as in contact with the technical side and the exact implementation of the product to be able to have the ego to say, hey, I know exactly what needs to be done. So if someone, whoever it is in the team, has a better approach, I will listen to it. If it's valid, we will go for it. This is the basis of trust. So if they have a good idea, they need to be able to speak it. They need to feel comfortable to speak it out loud. And if they can argument and say why that particular solution is better, nobody will actually argue against it. And yes, it has happened in the past that I was wrong multiple times in a row. I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, I will also answer the question, and the opinion is more or less the same as you already said, Alice. I'm pretty happy when that happens, and I have to point out that it actually happened this pretty often, several times in the past months in the project I'm currently working. So I had developers, colleagues of mine. I wouldn't call them juniors, not necessarily juniors, but with much less experience than I do, who found repeatedly better solutions for different situations than either I was suggesting or thinking about. And I think that I found out that nothing can make me happier than seeing that the folks in the team are upskilling. And I found out that what I'm thinking about as a team lead usually is that I want to teach as much as possible the members in the team rather than finding solutions myself. And if it happens that a solution of mine is not good, but someone from the team found a better approach, I find it even better. I'm happy with that. It's just a very big white ball for the folk that found the good solution. And that this way I can see who is basically doing good, but also who needs more attention. So if someone maybe struggles, I can focus more time for them rather than for the others because they need more of my time. I don't necessarily need to have equally time for everyone. So yeah, very good question, I think, because it really happens, and I hope others are happy too about that.
Yeah.
Okay, difficult decisions. What kind of difficult decisions have you faced as a team lead?
Well, basically, there are two big difficult decisions that I see happening pretty often, or more often that I care to see. When there is a team ramp down, and basically you have to decide who will leave the team, but they are not responsible. They have not done anything wrong. And the other one is when you have to give someone the boot. So basically, they're not performing well, or any other reason, they're not integrated well in the team, and you have to let them go. So these are the two main difficult decisions that I face fairly often.
How do you approach them? Let's take them one by one. What is your strategy?
When I have a ramp down, since it's not the team's fault, basically I discuss with each of the team members in private. I actually expose the context. Hey, there isn't enough budget. We need to do some cuts. Two people need to go from the team. What are your thoughts on this? Who do you think? What skills do you think we can lack in the future? I focus on the skills and not the persons. Also, what is their feel about the project? Because there are persons that, after working for a number of months or years on a particular project, they want naturally to exit anyway. So there were cases where people were actually happy to hear that we have a ramp down because, hey, I want to change the context anyway. I want to try something new. Okay, let's discuss. Once I have a feel of the entire team and I've communicated that, hey, I want to understand what's driving you and what are your reasons, that will not be the sole factor in this. And after that, I actually try to evaluate exactly what are our needs for the future, compare them to what the team actually sees. Because if I have the same view, then at least I know everything's fine. But if the team says, hey, we don't need testers anymore, and I was going to let go two developers, then definitely there's some mismatch there. But if we have an understanding about what skills need to stay in the team and what not, I try to make the best decision for the team while also trying to find solutions for the people that need to exit. Hey, I need to drop these two persons. Sorry, go ahead.
Now, the biggest danger in this situation is that people might get affected because they take it personal. So they think if he kicked me out, it means that something's wrong with me. So taking it by skills and not by person, and being transparent with the team, you at least try to make sure that they don't take it personally. Hopefully they don't take it personally.
Exactly. And when I tell them, I initially tell them in a one-to-one session so that they have time to express their questions, their any kind of comments or anything related to that. Once they have been announced privately, we'll have a team session. Hey, as of the 1st of March, we will be fewer in the team.
So you first discuss with the whole team, you present the situation, you focus on what you still need, what's more relevant in terms of skills to still have, and then you discuss with them one by one, with those that you will kick out, you discuss one by one so that they can express their questions.
The context I give to the entire team, I talk individually about what they think should stay and should go, individually to those that need to be let go, and then the whole team about what was the result.
Okay, sounds good. I understood it. And the second point, if you have to kick someone out because they are not performing, and of course we are discussing here not because they are not performing since yesterday. Let's say someone joined the team, they had multiple opportunities, of course, to try to improve, to upskill. You did as much as possible already to help them, gave them resources, gave them time to study, gave them tasks, I know, one by one, but they are still not performing. There can be reasons for that. Maybe that specific person, maybe they don't even want, maybe they don't care, maybe they can't, it's something they can't do. Which can be other reasons for that? What did you find, and how do you take this? What is the approach?
The approach I have is to focus focus on what they have done and what they have not done. So I try not to say, hey, you've screwed up when you had that particular task or whatever. Instead, I try to present the facts objectively. Hey, in the last month, you were late to 5 of the meetings. The PRs that you're raising take twice as long to be created and basically needs 2 or 3 rewrites before they're actually merged. The tasks that you're developing usually come back with 1 or 2 or 3 tests. So basically, I come with an objective list of KPIs that they've missed.
So basically, you don't kick them out because they screwed up once, unless maybe they deleted the database in production or something.
You'd be surprised, but even after that, you don't necessarily kick someone out because it's human to make mistakes, even big ones. But you don't kick them out on the first problem. So yes, but you still need to understand the context of that particular issue, because I've even had cases where people were underperforming. They wouldn't finish even the simplest of tasks that were assigned to that particular person. And the reason was that they were feeling as an intruder in the team. And the fact that we were giving that person simpler and more stupider tasks did nothing more but to underline the fact that they are an intruder. He is an intruder and he cannot do his job properly. And the solution for that was to actually give a more complex task to that person. Because at that moment, he actually felt, hey, they actually trust me to do something bigger. I can actually do something that matters and delivers value to the client and not just do simple bugs or documentation. And basically, it lifted his spirit so much that in the next sprints, they were up to full speed again. So you need to understand why they're not performing. And once you actually reach that particular point that, hey, I've exhausted all options to pull you on the right track, this is why we're parting ways. And not because I don't like your face, but this is the list of things that were expected of you and you did not meet. And if you link them to actual events linked in time and space to a particular event, they will take it a lot better. They will still slash your tires at the end of the day, but they will take it better at that particular meeting.
I think a part of this already answers, I think, one of our last questions here in the chat. So how do you keep your team inspired and motivated? One of the things that I've heard is sometimes you even have to give them more difficult tasks so that they gain trust in themselves. I think that can be a way to make them inspired and motivated. And then a second question in the same one is how do you approach a team member who is never finishing tasks on time? That's a difficult thing to understand here. What means on time? Because tasks in programming are pretty difficult sometimes to estimate. So what means on time in a humble way? So let's take them one by one. Do you have something more to add on how do you keep your team inspired and motivated apart from what we already discussed?
Basically, I would give them responsibility. So they have various ways, various setups or meetings where they can speak their mind, where they are aware of what's happening around them. They have the opportunity to propose new options that they can even take ownership of. And that will actually inspire them. The ones that are a bit more shy or scared, they need to understand that there is something called controlled failure. So I can give you a task, I can make you responsible for that particular task, and you can do the best that you can do with it. But you need to understand that there's also a safety net. So don't worry about failing because it's controlled. You will not destroy the entire project. You will not delete the production database. You might botch that particular functionality, but it's okay. We can repair it, and that will give them sufficient trust to actually try, and that will help the more shy people. Whereas the ones that actually have the attitude and the energy to do it, you just need you do this, go wild, come back with a result, and they're more than happy. So if they feel involved and they know that they can make a difference and that you're not someone who's all powerful and decide everything, they will feel motivated and inspired and involved in the project. So they are actually committed to the project.
Okay. Sounds good. Of course, I think a part of motivation sometimes comes also with other perspective that we are not necessarily powerful in, like salary or stuff like that. Of course, there is probably something you can do, like giving good feedback in case that specific member deserves it. But it's not always your something you can do, isn't it?
I'd actually add something to this. As a lead, it's your responsibility to give feedback, period. Whether it's good, bad, or neutral, you are responsible to give feedback, both to that person directly, as well as whoever is responsible for increases, promotions, blah, blah. But you need to do that. I've seen lots of leads that say, I'm too busy with the project, don't bother me. Yeah, whatever, give them a raise.
Or team lead, anyway, team lead, when they say I'm too busy with the project, they have to understand that a part of the project means their team. So it's not necessarily the code. So the code is a part of their responsibility. The team is the other part of their responsibility. So if they work on the code, but they don't work on the team, then they don't do their job properly.
Yep.
That's and the second one was some other questions popped up, but I'm going to find it. How do you approach a team member who is never finishing tasks on time?
Yeah.
Do you have this term of on time? What does it mean for you? And how do you approach someone who doesn't finish it?
The concept of time, like you said, is relative in this particular area or this particular domain. But let's say that something is not on time when at least one or two person in the team starts feeling anxious that that particular task is not done. So by their estimations, it should have been done a while ago. And about the subtle ways of actually getting someone to finish their task, I always suggest pair programming. So either in one of the dailies, hey, can someone sit with X at the same screen and see what's the problem? Or I tend to be a bit more intrusive, but the team is aware of my style and they allow me to be. I just sit at their computer and say, hey, what's up? What are you working on today? I have half an hour without meetings. I want to see some code. Teach me, teach me. Basically, we do pair programming. I just sit like a parrot on their shoulder. They can't surf Facebook. They can't stand on YouTube. They actually need to work. They need to explain in natural language to someone who is not aware of their particular status and task. And they will actually start doing stuff. And the fact that it gets clearer in their minds by explaining it to me, they will actually improve their speed on the task.
So that's a good point. We at least we don't. I don't usually monitor the team members, and maybe from time to time half an hour with them, as you said, is enough. But I'm going to tell you something now that I found in the past couple of weeks. We have, like almost any other system in the world now, a log monitoring tool installed in our environment. So Sentry, you might know Sentry is just taking exceptions and putting them on a nice dashboard. So what I discovered is that basically you can configure it to send emails from any environment, including the local environment. And what happens now is that when people work, I get emails with the exceptions, and I know what kind of problems they have. And you said earlier that I know. You know your team after some time, and if that exception, if that guy having an exception, if they will be able to handle it or not. That's one point. So I can say, okay, they have a null pointer exception, no problem. They will handle it. But you can also find a problem that it's more difficult to solve, and maybe you find out that specific team member might not have the skills to solve that problem, or maybe it's a difficult problem, but you know the solution up front. And it happened to me that I worked on a solution for 4 hours for a specific exception, and then a team member has the same one because they didn't maybe pull my solution from GitLabs. And instead of letting them investigate 4 more hours, I just tell them up front, hey, here's the solution. I had the same problem. So this really helped me actually help the team. I don't monitor them. I don't use Sentry to make sure that they work or not. And another thing that I use Sentry for is I've seen people working very late after hours today, and then if I see that, because they simply, I got an email at 10 p.m. with an exception, and I can tell them, why did you work after hours? Maybe they wanted just to recover some time they lost. Maybe they had, I know, during the working time medical leave or something, and they wanted just to make sure they cover all the hours. Or maybe they were struggling to solve more, and that's not okay, because it's not okay to at least for a long time work overtime. And if you work overtime, you should be paid for that anyway. So then these kind of situations should be avoided, and that helped me identify these kind of situations as well. That's a little trick I found.
I use the build emails for that particular purpose. So when I get build emails at 2 a.m, someone's gonna get an earful.
One last question. I think that's time to end, because it's already over an hour we are staying here, and I know I think we could stay for a week here to discuss this kind of stuff, because it's a very wide topic and very interesting. But of course we don't have that much time. Let's see. I have seen teams entertaining any requirements from other teams over Slack or MS Teams chat, requirements that don't take much time but still need effort. So it's something about communication between teams, what I understand here. I hope I got the question correctly. In that case, what is your communication mode that you suggest to your team? Do you draw a line between formal email request and chat? So I think when you have to require something from another team that you don't manage, Do you go by formal email? Do you go by chat? Do you draw a line? What are the advantages and disadvantages between going by email or by chat?
It depends on how close you are to that particular team. So if it's someone who you're working very intimately in order to actually deliver your project, so you basically cannot go into production without their help, you will want to be as friendly as possible. Of course, like I said earlier, I'm not here to make friends. I need to make sure that the project actually gets delivered. So if I see that, hey, our friendship is getting in the way of this actually gets delivering, I will switch to formal emails so that I can actually have a formal way of saying someone is not particularly delivering as expected. You are a supplier after all. You are a different team. You are a supplier of services to me, even if that service is code. And if you're not delivering it on time or within quality, then we have a problem. And in order to raise that problem to whoever can help this issue, I need a formal email. But if things are going well, we collaborate well, we have video meetings, we discuss often enough, sure, we can have the requirements over chat or whatever, but I usually encourage having a discussion over whatever with video feed. That's a lot faster. You get a feel of what they're trying to do or not. I can actually understand if they actually are willing to do what they're requesting or not. Whereas if we just discuss over chat, they can say, yes, whatever, we will do it. And you find out in 2 weeks that they haven't scheduled it in their sprint and you have to wait for another 2 weeks for them to actually do it.
I
But
think
like I
one
said,
difference. Yeah, sorry,
go
go
ahead.
on.
Yes, but if things go wrong or I need to have visibility over this or management needs to get involved, then definitely you need formal email.
Between Teams and chat, I also think there is one point to consider is when you discuss with a different member for a different team managed by someone else or having a different backlog, what in my experience, what you don't want to is get them disrupted too much, because then you will affect their estimations in the end. And there is a bit of a difference between email and chat. Whenever someone calls you by chat, if you are not trained well, you might tend to answer immediately, which interrupts you. And a lot of people usually, when they see a notification on chat, they immediately answer. That's not necessarily what you should do. You might leave the notification there, but it's something psychological. And when you see a notification, you tend to answer that. The email usually is not like that. When you send an email, somehow people know for the email that they can reply later. So it's a less interruptive channel of communication. So I think that's also some point where you can take a decision whether you go by chat or by email, thinking about that.
Yep, perfectly correct.
Okay, I think we are out of time, and as much as I would like to discuss a lot of more subjects, and hopefully we answered the questions to everyone in the chat. Thank you very much, everyone, for the questions and for the suggestions and the comments you wrote. We expect you write comments also in the comment section afterwards. And thank you very much, Adrian, for being part of this conversation and for sharing the tips and tricks and everything you learned from your experience with us. And that will definitely make a big difference to anyone who either attended this live event or will see the recording afterwards on the YouTube channel.
Thank you for having me, and this discussion was fairly entertaining, so I really liked it.
Thank you very much again. Before ending completely the video, I would like to remind you that the sponsor of our today's video is Lemon.io. Lemon.io is a freelance platform for experienced developers. You should definitely check them out, folks. They have a lot of things to offer for mid-plus and senior developers. So Lemon.io offers projects considering developers' tech stack, skills, and expectations about projects, duration, or type. You don't have to look for clients yourself, sell yourself every time, and dump on prices. All communications is handled by Lemon.io. If you just code, then you have just to code and enjoy your excellent salary. So give them a chance and check their website, which is in the comment section and the video description. Thank you very much, everyone. So we are now waving goodbye and hope you enjoyed our event. See you soon later for other events on the same channel. Don't forget to follow the YouTube channel, LinkedIn or Twitter. Cheers.
Bye, guys.